had to turn the heater off because it doesn't react well to the sound on the video, so I'll keep this quick. Welcome to another episode. We are into the galley now, and this is really exciting. For us, this is probably the most important part of the interior of the boat because we love to cook and it's really important to us that we get this right. We're going to need lots of storage, we need lots of counter space so that we can stand next to each other and cook together. That's just a really crucial element of this. So first thing I do now, I've got hatches that need to be put into the floor. We've got these structural stringers that come across laterally, so we need to probably put about 3 hatches into the floor, one of which is going to be inside under the sink, so that's fine. It don't need to be very small, just so I can get a hand and maybe a screw gun in there, just in case I need to do any maintenance, or get a drill in there to do anything, whatever I need. And be lots of cables and pipes and stuff running through each of these, so we just need access to every possible place. When we first bought the boat, there wasn't access to anywhere under the galley, so it caused a lot of issues when things went wrong. So that's really important to us, so I need to factor all that in. So what I do now is I'm just going to dismantle the whole thing because it's all stood on the floor. Once the floorboard's in place, the other main thing we need to get to is the bulkhead that I've put in. Before I can do anything with that, I need to fiberglass that in once the floor's down, but before that I'll need to look at the drawers. So today's job is cutting hatches in the floor, and tomorrow's job is building drawers to go in. Now, a lot of sailors hate the idea of drawers because they can fling open and cause a lot of destruction. We're very aware of that, so we're going to make sure we have a little clever system to make sure that can't happen. But I think it's just a really good use of space, and we don't have to be scrambling right to the back of cupboards and everything. Other than that, let's crack on with it. So this is the floor that needs the hatches. There's going to be a hatch here, and hatch here. The structural stringers that run through are basically where the edge of this board is, so it runs through there and it runs through there. They are chunky boys and we don't really want to mess around with them, so that's where that's going to be. So I need to take the front off here, take the front off here, take all this down, take the top off here, take that side piece out and take the bulkhead in there out, and then we're good to go. Really annoyingly, what's happened is I've got 2 screws that have just snapped. And they're both in such a position that I can't move anything without taking at least one out. So that doesn't really make much sense. Anyway, I can't get them out without my vice grips. I can't find my vice grips either. So I'm going to sulk for a bit and then try and figure this out. I've got some pliers, so maybe I can get them out with these. Cannot. Okay, I found them. They're in my tool bag, which is where I'd expect them to be honest. But I didn't look hard enough, so okay, we can continue now. There we go. So, as it turns out, I've just remembered this all wrong, and I think the reason why I didn't cut hatches in these in the first place is because I don't need to. Now, I thought that the floor base sat on these big stringers here, and they don't. There's quite a big gap. So any access I need to under the galley, I can actually get to by the removable pieces that are already laid in the middle, which is going to make my life so much easier because it means I don't have to cut extra hatches out of the floor for whatever flooring we put down. I don't have to cut into it anymore. So that's really useful. So I still need to take this floor up, so I'm going to dismantle the galley, and I need to prep the hull for where we're going to fiberglass to, and I'll put a coat of bilge paint on the underside of this flooring as well, so we don't have to come back to that. And I'll also touch up underneath because it's not actually that great. So that's really good. That's going to save an awful lot of time. It's getting late-ish and I was a bit concerned that I was going to run out of time tonight, so now I don't have to do that. That's wonderful news. So if I can get it started, maybe do a bit of painting, and then we can call it a night in the next couple of hours. What we have here is this line going across here. I need to sand everything above that line
and paint everything below that line, and then that'll be good for us to not have to cut hatches. Super excited about that.
Okay, with the under the floor all sanded and ready for paint, it's time to shift focus to the actual floorboard itself. The light sand, quick paint, and then tomorrow morning we can get going with epoxying when I'm building shelves. Okay, so this edge here is the one that's going to get all the fiberglass on it here, so I give that a really good sand, and the rest of it I'm just going to give it just a little once over. I will be re-epoxying this, so it'd be good just to get a little key just to make sure that it adheres really well. So really happy with what I've achieved, done really well, got the paint down the floor, got the paint on the underside of the board, that's all I can do for now. Need to get out of here because of all the fumes, but yeah, super chuffed. Leave the heater on a low setting overnight just to give it a fighting chance, because I think the temperatures are dropping below 5 degrees tonight, so just help dry the paint, and then tomorrow I'm going to build it back up a little bit so I can start building the drawers, and then we can start fiberglassing, and while that's drying I can be building. Efficient use of time, that's what we're going for, and see you tomorrow. Now it's the next day, the painting has dried really nicely. I did keep a tiny little bit of heat in the boat last night, and that's helped wonders. So the floorboard and the actual hull are completely dry, so I can crack on with the next step, which is, I made a mistake yesterday, or kind of what I should have done was measure the gap for the drawers before I dismantled the galley. I just forgot to do that, so I'm going to go back a step, build part of the galley, get those measurements, take it all out again, then I can start doing some fiberglassing, and then once that's drying, then I can take my cut list to the unit and start cutting all the wood we need. That's the next step, so I'm going to crack on with that. It's cold in here. So the galley's put together, we've taken the measurements, so now it's time to dismantle it again for hopefully the last time. Okay, finally done for the night. It's very late, I'm very hungry, but I got as far as I could and I'm really happy. I didn't think I was going to get this far. I thought I'd have to give up earlier because of the time, but I just kept going, and now I'm in such a good place for tomorrow. I've got the floor completely fiberglassed down. It's got thickened epoxy on the bottom, so it's down on the supports, and then it's glassed all the way along the edges like everywhere else in the boat. And then I've got the main bulkhead of the galley, that's in as well, and glassed in, so that's going to be super strong when I come back tomorrow, so we can start installing the drawers. Wow, it's incredible. Like, although it took a lot longer than I thought, I managed to still get to a really good point at the end of the day, and I was kind of spent the most of the day thinking I wasn't going to get there, so I'm really happy I did, and can't wait for tomorrow to crack on with some drawers. But your face remained the same. The less glamorous side of boat life when it's 11:30 at night and you're just cooking a very simple pasta and sauce with way too much cheese to get through the night. I'm so tired, I just want to go to bed, but I have to eat. So quick meal, quick episode of something, and then straight to bed. Yummy. Okay, I've made it to the unit. I've got my bit of wood out. It was very difficult. The unit is a mess. I'm not going to take you in there because it is triggering and very upsetting, but we've got a plan for that soon. But for now, I've got my wood out. I'm going to cut it down. I've used an app. I put my cut list into an app which told me the best places to use that on the board. I can get all of our drawer cuts from one sheet of 12mm ply, which is excellent. So I'm going to cut
into 4 pieces actually now, so I can do the rest of the cutting on the boat, because I want to cut it and fit it at the same time, so I don't build all the boxes and then realise they don't fit. So I'm going to cut them down into manageable sizes so they'll fit in the car, get them to the boat, and then we'll start constructing.
The sparrows will be here by dawn. When we find it's over, they'll be gone.
Right, let's get back to the boat before it goes dark.
So now my absolute favourite part of all this, and it's getting all that wood onto the boat without being blown off. It is quite windy today, so I'm just carrying these giant sails up the ladder. I've only fallen off twice before, so let's not make it a third, and I'll see how we get on. Okay, that was the last trip. I made it. We're all safe. Okay, I've got all the wood cut I think I need for the first box. Now, I'm not a carpenter, so I am assuming that this is probably going to go wrong at some point.
It's too dark. Too dark.
I keep doing the maths. I get different answers every time, so I'm just going to give it a go. Do it one piece at a time and see how we get on. The box is going to be made of 12mm ply, which is going to be butt jointed together. I'm going to route out a 6mm channel on each end so the wood can all slot into each other, and then I'm just going to use some nails just to tap it in place while we make sure it fits, and then I'll take it all apart and epoxy it all together, and then we can fill fair and paint it when we're ready. So I just want to do a rough go at first just to make sure it works, and then we can go back and put it back in properly, because I don't know what I'm doing. There's so many YouTube videos I can watch and just still not get it. But hey, this is what this channel's all about. Let's have some fun. Now that is immensely satisfying. It looks really good. The joins line up perfectly. There's one corner that's slightly lifted compared to the others, but that's just going to take a tiny little bit of sand and then that'll be perfect after that. But yeah, really happy with this, and we can crack on with the base now.
Okay, with all the routing complete, now's the scary part. Let's see if this box fits. The top is quite uniformly sitting just under a mil over. There's a little ridge on this side and all around. So I'm not going to get the router back on it, but I think once I've given it a good sand, I think that'll give us the level that we need. Okay, I'm just going to hammer in a couple of nails just to make sure the box keeps its shape, and then we're going to move on to the exciting stage of a test fit. This is where our drawers are going to live. I'm just going to prep this up now for our prototype. To be fair, very pessimistically, I'm not expecting this to work first time. I know there's a tiny bit of variation between the two bulkheads here, and I think that's going to screw us over slightly, but it is completely fixable. I'm going to be running some 2x1 batten down where the sliders are going to be, and that I'll be able to adjust to make sure it's nice and square. So I think I've probably gone a little bit too millimeter perfect with everything, so at the moment it's probably going to be absolutely tight, but that's nothing. A little bit of sanding, or I can recess the sliders into any of the bits of wood that I can. So this is just purely to see how this works and what I need to do going forward. So at the bottom of this beam is going to essentially be the top of our drawers. Then there's going to be a 25mm gap, then our drawer, 25mm gap, drawer, 25mm gap, drawer. So we're going to have 3 drawers. At the moment, this drawer, it actually seems really deep, and the top drawer I was thinking about turning into our cutlery drawer, so knives, forks. It doesn't need to be this deep. We're going to have a big drawer at the bottom for pots and pans. We're going to have another slightly bigger drawer for whatever we want in there, and then I might put 2 thin drawers in for cutlery and cooking utensils. But I'm going to fit this in now, and then we'll see how we go. Ellie's going to decide that one. That's not for me to decide. I think that's creative.
That is dreamy. Success! I'm really happy. We've got one drawer built and installed. I did the top one first, it was a little bit stiff, and then I installed the runners for the second drawer down. I put the first box we built in those runners and it runs a hell of a lot smoother. So I think there is just a little bit of, there's a few more mil. So what I'll do, I'll make the next box to fit back in the first slot at the top. I'll make it a tiny, like 3 mil thinner, and that should be just as smooth as the next one, and then we can go ahead and build a big one at the bottom. So really happy with that. I'm going to crack on with those tomorrow, get those finished, and then we can just have our finished drawers, and then we can move on and start painting and doing fun things like that. So really happy, got there in the end, a lot of tinkering, but super chuffed. So with that, I'm going to leave you for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, where who knows where we'll be, but keep watching. Thank you very much.